I don't think it's a unique experience at all. That around like 14, 15 is when I really was like, I want to be cool. Like that's when for the first time I mentally put together that I was like, I really want to be a cool person. And I think that's like very natural for a, mid or early teenager, whatever you want to call it, right? And of course I did, what I would do, and watched a video essay on how to be cool. It got me nowhere. So then I sat down and I was like, who's the coolest guy I know? Like I was trying to think, who are they? What do they do that makes them so cool? And my mind at the time went right to one of my older friends. I'm not gonna say his name. I don't know if he would want me to, but it went to one of my older friends. And I was like, this is the coolest guy I know. I wanna say maybe it was a freshman or a sophomore, and he was like 2 years older than me. I still talk to him to this day. He's an awesome guy. And I was like, that's definitely the coolest guy I know. So I had to like sit and think, I was like, what makes him cool? Cause like, he wasn't conventionally cool. When I was like, I wanna be cool, I didn't know what it meant, but I know what it didn't mean. I didn't mean like the traditional cool. I guess right now it'd be like wearing like Nike Techs and Yeezy foam runners. Like that's never what I wanted to be. I was more so just like, what makes somebody a cool person, like a unique, cool person to be around. And the more that I thought about it, he was the coolest person I know, despite being the complete opposite of what cool is. Like he was not a cool guy. He would wear anime shirts to school. He would do these like cringy jokes that nobody would laugh at and everyone would be like, like that was like weird, But everyone I knew said he was the coolest guy they knew. Not a single person had anything bad to say about him. And remains like that to this day. So I was really like, why? Like what makes him so cool? And the conclusion I came to, as implied by the title of the video, is that he was just so himself. He was more himself than anyone else I knew was themselves. He was so comfortable in his own skin, and he had this air of not confidence, but like this quiet comfortability about himself that made him the coolest guy in any room he was in. He could be in a room next to a bunch of those guys who seemed like the traditional cool guy, like wearing like at the time, what was like cool back then? I guess like Supreme shirts. They'd be wearing a bunch of Supreme shirts, like whatever is like the cool thing. He would be standing next to them and he'd be so much cooler and everyone in the room would know it, despite being the opposite. And it was just because he was himself. He was so comfortable in his own skin. He was so himself that he was like magnetic, And at first I definitely took the wrong message away from this. I was like, he is cool because he's himself, and that means he's just a cool guy. Like I was kind of like, he's just lucky. Like he just won the lottery of having the best personality and being the coolest guy. And that was definitely the wrong message. And about a year later, maybe it was after we graduated, I kind of like sat back and I was like, oh, everyone's the coolest guy when they're themselves. It's just a matter of being yourself. And I think that's like where I'd want to kind of start here is like, that's the toughest thing about being yourself is doing it. And it's such a weird thing to say. And like, there's so many videos out there on like how to be yourself, how to be confident, all these things. And like, I always thought it was so weird, but the more I think about it, it makes so much sense. It's really hard to be yourself. Like it's not an easy thing to do because, well, even if yourself is awesome, like, I think everyone's self is what I'm gonna get to here. It's not like, something that comes naturally, even though it should. And I think this is kind of something I've talked about a lot in Paint and Talk, is how like I feel that the whole world is kind of pulling you in a million directions. Like all the forces of the world are trying to shove you one way or another and it shapes you into something, right? To be yourself is to be the purest form of that and resist almost everything that comes your way. That's like almost impossible, right? So all you can really ask for is to be the most you that you can physically be. I think that's what my friend did. Maybe I said his name by now. I almost just did. So there's like a heavy chance that I said his name. Hopefully not though. But it's really just about being the most you can, because and this is like what I came up with back then as to why I think that's so cool, why the coolest guy is the guy who's most himself. And I don't know if it's right, but I'll say it because I think it's kind of interesting, is that maybe it's because we all want to be ourselves, but nobody's actually like, is brave the word? Maybe brave, maybe something else. Nobody's brave enough to do it. Nobody can do it. So seeing the guy that is the most themselves gives us all this feeling of comfortability. Gives us all this it gives us almost like a shred of the quiet confidence that he has, and it makes us all feel like we're in the presence of someone really cool because they are cool. They're themselves, and we want to be like that. I think cool people, because it's tough, right? Because somebody like actually, I don't know if I can even think of an artist, but that archetype of a famous artist who's really, like, they're famous and they're very cool, but they're not like impactful in any way. Like, the coolest artists are the people who everyone wants to keep copying. They're like the cultural movers. They're the people that influence things. And it's also, I would argue, like the hardest type of artist to be. I'm thinking of people like Tyler, the Creator. He's a great example of this. He is one of the coolest guys for no reason. Like, there's nothing about him that would make you go like, oh, this is like, yeah, no, of course, this is one of the most popular guys. He has nothing about him that is close to what our conceptions of cool are, but everybody wants to be him. Everybody's copying him, and if I see another person online wearing a Ushanka and cardigan and going out in public, that's great if that's you, but you don't look like him. Like, I hope you know that. Like, you really don't look like him. But everyone wants to kind of copy him a little bit because he's so himself that, like, you can't help but be like, no, he's cool. And I think, personally, that's why I think he's been like that from, like, the beginning. I mentioned Supreme shirts earlier as something that was cool when I was, like, a high schooler. And he started that, like, when he was, like, 18. And I think that's because, like, since he was 18, he's just always been so him that everyone kind of wanted a piece. Everyone was like, I want to feel like that. I want to have that sense of ruthless, individuality that's so unapologetic. And this is all to say that, like, you need to start being yourself. Like, when you're in a situation and you're, like, having some sort of social anxiety, you are, feeling like maybe you're, like, a loser there or something. I mean, we've all been there. We've all felt like an absolute loser out in public before. No matter what you're feeling, the safest answer is to be the most you can be in that moment. And it's so weird because it seems like the most dangerous thing you could do. Like, when you're sitting somewhere and you're like, maybe you said something that was already a little embarrassing, maybe you did something a little weird, or you felt like it was weird, or somebody looked at you weird, whatever it may be. The thing you want to do is to sit there quietly and be normal, right? Don't do that. Don't do the exact opposite of that. Be you, be weird, be comfortable, put your feet up, metaphorically, unless you can. I guess if you can, that's a cool thing to do. Like, I guess that's kind of like a cool guy thing, right? So put your feet up, yeah, that's awesome. Maybe sunglasses too. But no, I'm serious, like, just be yourself. It's kind of like what they say in that one book that I've never read, but I always quote, where they go, jump and the net will appear. That's exactly how it is. Be you, do exactly what you want to do in that moment, and it will work out, no matter what. And I've put this to the test. I've definitely gone through some embarrassing situations, but you know what? It's never failed me. I guess that is kind of it failing me, but, like, it never has. Have I really gone through that many embarrassing situations? I don't know, though, because, like, they seemed embarrassing in the moment, but I've never, like, it's never genuinely been that bad, And I think that's the thing, is, like, social situations seem so much more awkward than they actually are, And, like, think of in the 1920s how crazy things were, where, like, people would be out on the streets and a guy would be having the most intense mentally ill episode. Would that be what you call it? The most intense psychiatric episode ever. And everyone would just be like, old Jim is out again off the ether, like whatever they'd say in the 1930s. Like, everyone is still like that, just no one's brave enough to be old Jim anymore. Even though Old Jim is all we remember from the 1930s. He's the one who we have all the stories about. Nobody was writing books about the shopkeeper kicking Old Jim out. They all wrote the books about Old Jim. And you need to be Old Jim. You need to be the weird guy. You need to be the one who people want to talk about, because being the normal one is only going to get you to beat everyone else, and that's not cool. Nobody, and you know what, the thing that like a lot of people are scared of, I think, it's a very valid fear, is that they're going to come off as too weird. People aren't going to like them. They're going to turn people off to them. And you know what? Completely honestly, yeah, you will. You will. 100% you will. But you know what? I have two things to say to that. One, most people don't even like themselves. Why would you care if they like you? You know, who cares? Most people who genuinely like are going about their day hate something about themselves. So let them hate you too. If they don't even like themselves, why would you care what they think of you? You know, they don't even have the self-respect to like themselves more than you. That's crazy. And the second thing is, let's say you don't do any of this. Let's say you continue putting on a mask, you don't be yourself, you like let people, you know, dictate what's weird and what's normal, and you go about the rest of your life like that. People will still hate you for some reason. You could try and like, you know, color in between the lines for the rest of your life, and for no reason, somebody's gonna hate your guts. And it won't make any sense, and it doesn't make any sense, because why would you, you know, give time to hate, right? I do it all the time, I'm a huge hater, but why would you do it, right? So like, if someone's gonna hate you anyways, you might as well let them hate yourself. Let them hate you, like the real you, you know? Like now it's almost like you're getting a double negative. You're having somebody dislike you, and you're not even being yourself while they're doing it. At least like, so that's two bad things. The bad thing one is you're putting on a mask, and the bad thing number two is that somebody doesn't like you, you know? But like, you could eliminate one of those bad things. Somebody's always gonna not like you. You can't control that. That's just like a fact of life, right? So you might as well control the bad thing that you can control and be yourself while they dislike you. And this is where I think the hard part about being yourself comes in, is you wanna put on a mask because it's easy, you know, if they don't like you, it's easy to be like, oh, but I was, you know, just acting how I thought I should act. You know, it's so much easier to do that than to be like, no, I was myself, and they just genuinely don't like who I am. And that's where you gotta learn, one, to not care. Like I said, most people don't even like themselves. Why would you care if they like you? And two, you know, that's where, like, you gotta just own it. You know, that's definitely the toughest part about this, is like, you gotta let them just be like, yeah, no, like, they just didn't like me. And that's fine. You gotta learn to own that, because you can't waste time being like, what will they think about this? And most of the time, in my experience, people won't be, you know, people will like you more. I felt that when I started acting more unapologetically myself, people liked me more than when I was putting on a front to try and, you know, be cool or be socially acceptable. That's 100% what I found, without exception, is that so many more people like me, because everyone wants to be themselves. And when you're being yourself, your haters are your waiters at your table of success, you know, like that's just how that works. So be yourself. Be weird, come up with weird hypotheticals about old Jim in the 1930s who was going on an ether trip in the middle of the street, and just like own that, you know? Because I realized after I said that metaphor that that was out of nowhere. So I hope that made sense to you guys. I hope you got that old Jim reference. But anyways, the painting is done. I wanted to kind of go for, so the other day, I want to say 2 Paint and Talks ago, I did this eye, or this face. Yeah, it was a face, not an eye. And I did it kind of in the style, and I was like, I'm kind of tapping into, you know, like a comic-y manga kind of look that is very much indicative of where I started when I was drawing, when I was a kid, and when I got into like art and all that. And I was like, why don't I try and double down on that? Because I always have loved like Liechtenstein stuff too, who did these pop art paintings of this very comic-y look. Well, not even comic-y look, he did pop art paintings of comic panels. So like, why don't I double down on that and try and do something with it? Did it come out good? You know, you can look at it, but it's not good. No, but like, it's something. I think it's a direction that could be kind of interesting. So, you know, I think the biggest failure at the end of Paint and Talk, at the end of this year, would be that I don't have anything distinct. You know what I mean? I would like to, like, I have a couple of things I've done where I'm like, that's kind of a direction, that's kind of cool. And I hope that I can bring at least one of these things to its natural conclusion to have like kind of a cool style by the end of this. But I guess that's kind of a big hope too when we hear at episode 53. So you guys know the deal. Go check this out over on the Instagram, all the angles, all the descriptions, all the stuff that comes with Instagram. You can see how many likes it got, which is like, that's awesome. You could be like, wow, he only got 2 likes, he fell off. Like, that's the best part. I'm sorry I'm talking louder as this goes. It's raining really hard outside in New York right now. It's insane. And you guys know the drill. Guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice. Wait, oh my God, I messed up, because you know the drill is what I say before the painting. Okay, we gotta run this back. We have to get this new intro down, guys. It's the third time doing this, and we gotta get it down. All right. Until next time, guys, gals, and pals, my name is Max Dice, and this has been Paint and Talk episode 53. I'm here every morning, painting and talking with you all. Oh my God, it's raining so hard.